Hello, everyone. Tonight we are standing in a place where the ground remembers what it shouldn't. Where footprints sink into the dirt and come back up days later in the wrong direction. Where bones never lie still for long. You're here now. The mist has closed behind you, and whatever was following has stopped pretending not to exist. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You arrive just before twilight, which is always a mistake. This landscape, whatever it used to be, doesn't like the in-between. And twilight is neither day nor night, it's the hour of hesitation. Shadows lengthen sideways here, not longer but wider, as if stretching their reach toward other versions of you. There's a shape in the distance, you think it's a boulder, then a hut, then nothing at all. The guide was supposed to meet you. He left a note pinned with a thorn to the fence. If I'm not here by sundown, go around the grave. Clockwise only. Don't touch the stones. Do not lie down even for a moment. That's all. Just that. No map, no signature. Just a smear of red clay under the note that smells faintly of river rot. You haven't seen a river for hours. You follow the crooked path anyway. The wind makes the tall grass hiss as though something beneath it disapproves of your walking. The only tree is bent like a question mark, split down the middle and hollowed out. Something has been nesting inside. Recently. The grave. It isn't marked with a name, just a ring of pale stones, too white for this place, arranged in a lopsided oval. One has broken and been replaced. You can tell because the new one isn't smoothed by rain yet. It looks newer than it should. You walk clockwise around it, just like the note said. Once, twice, 3 times. And as the sun drops, a soft vibration creeps up from the ground through your feet. The kind you feel more than hear. You stop. The grave does not. It shifts. Only a little, like someone shifting in sleep. But the outermost stone tips inward just a few degrees. You blink. The next one follows, then the third. You don't say anything aloud. You were warned about that too. Some graves remember voices. A real fact. The ancient Neolithic people of Çatalhöyük, one of the oldest known cities in human history, buried their dead under the floors of their homes. Sometimes the graves were reopened, and skulls removed, possibly for ritual, possibly to remember, possibly just because something wanted them above ground again. Scholars still argue whether the bodies were ever truly meant to rest. There's an old story here from the nearby hills. It says a woman once placed a bell under every stone in her family's grave ring. If any of them ever moved, she'd know who was trying to come back. The bells disappeared one by one. Then she did too. But the grave still rearranges itself every night, trying to spell her name with its bones. You find your camp already set up, though you don't remember doing it. A small fire pit has been circled with pebbles. The tent is zipped shut. When you open it, your pack is inside, along with a candle that wasn't yours before. It's shaped like a little figure, arms crossed over its chest, eyes closed, no wick. A joke you consider lighting it anyway, just to see what happens. But then you remember the last time you did something just to see what happens. That scar still won't explain itself to the doctors. Night deepens. The wind stops, as if it's listening. Somewhere far off, an owl tries to hoot and coughs instead. You sit by the cold pit, not daring to light it. Not yet. You count the stones in the grave ring again. 1, 2, 3, 4. You stop at 11. There were 12 this afternoon. You don't get up. You don't lie down either. Instead, you hum. Something old and tuneless, the kind of song people sing when they don't remember the words, only the warning. The stone doesn't roll back into place, but it stops moving. Somewhere nearby, something exhales. Another real fact: the oldest grave ever discovered, dating back more than 78,000 years, held the tiny curled body of a child. Researchers debated for years whether the position was deliberate or whether the earth simply swallowed the body over time, curling it into fetal rest. Eventually, they agreed it was a burial. But some still whisper, why did the body face east? A gentle joke just to ease your mind. Maybe it was just trying to see the sunrise. Or maybe it remembered something about the dark that we've all forgotten. You stay awake through the night. It doesn't feel like a choice. The ground vibrates again around midnight, gentler this time, as though it's trying not to wake you. But you're already awake. You've always been awake here. One of the pebbles from the fire circle is now in your shoe. The grave has realigned itself. Not much, but enough that if you trace the ring now, it would point slightly northwest, toward the tree, the one that bends like a question mark. You think of the bell woman again, and the missing stone. You whisper her name just once, though you never knew it. The wind restarts instantly. The grass leans toward the grave like it's eavesdropping. You decide not to sleep, but your eyes burn. You think of the hollow tree and how easy it would be to just rest inside for a moment, curl up where something used to nest. The candle without a wick rolls slightly, stopping just beside your foot. Its eyes are still closed. You don't touch it. You don't lie down. But the ground beneath you is softer than before. By morning, the air has grown too quiet to be real. You know the kind it presses against your skin like something holding its breath, as if the very atmosphere is pretending not to exist. You didn't sleep. Not really. But something blurred the hours, because when you check your notes, they're written in a handwriting that looks like yours but leans too far to the left, as though each letter was trying to crawl off the page before you could finish the thought. The grave is different again. This time it's not the stones. It's what's beneath them. You can see impressions now, faint shapes in the dirt like fingers pushing upward from the underside of the earth. They're not consistent in size. Some small, some oddly long. You don't touch them. You do count them. 13. Again. Which is strange, because you still count only 12 stones, but only when you look directly at them. Your camera, when reviewed, shows 13 every time. One in the center darker than the rest. You tell yourself it's a glitch, a shadow artifact. That's what they'd say at the Institute anyway. One of your old professors used to joke that ghosts were just uncalibrated pixels. Of course, he also insisted the Neanderthals didn't bury their dead. Why would a hunter hide meat in the ground? He laughed once. Some researchers still argue whether Neanderthal burials were symbolic or simply accidental. Maybe the bodies just fell into soft sediment and were preserved by luck. That professor went missing 2 years ago. Field trip to the Caucasus. His gear came back without him. The ground there shifts too. Your breath fogs in the morning air, though it shouldn't. It's not cold enough. And the fog stays as if reluctant to leave your lips. The hill beyond the grave rises gently, its slope hiding whatever lies beyond. You hike it cautiously. The grass crunches softly underfoot like dry paper folded too many times. At the top, a clearing. Half-buried stones. Some upright like teeth, others flat like lids. In the middle stands a wooden frame tall as a man, lashed together with vine. It's shaped like a doorway, but with nothing on the other side. Just more field, more sky, more wind. You walk around it once, clockwise, nothing happens. Then you walk around it counterclockwise. The grave behind you sighs. You look back. There's someone standing near it. Not close, not moving, just watching. They're bent forward slightly like they've forgotten how to stand up straight. You blink and they're gone. But the bent posture remains in the grass. A joke soft as breath. Maybe it's just a scarecrow you forgot to pax. You descend slowly. The stones seem larger than before. The candle figure from last night is gone. In its place, a small bundle wrapped in birch bark tied with hair. Inside, if you're brave enough to check, you find dirt, tiny bones, bird rodent, and something that looks like a baby tooth. It's still warm. You place it gently on the grave. The 12th stone rolls half an inch to the left. You do not smile. Another real fact: in the late Paleolithic, humans performed complex burial rituals involving red ochre shells and carved ivory figurines. One child burial in Russia dating back 24,000 years was found with over 10,000 ivory beads likely sewn into a burial garment. No one knows how long it took to make, but someone spent days, maybe months, crafting something that would never be worn by the living. The scent of ochre rises now, faint, metallic, like dried blood and rusted water. You decide to return to the hill that night despite what you saw. At the top again, the wooden frame stands unchanged. You light a match and hold it toward the center. The flame flickers inward as though drawn toward something unseen. You step closer, and you hear a sound, not from the field, from below, like breath beneath your feet. You kneel. Press your ear to the earth. It takes a moment. Then you hear it, the sound of something rearranging. Not quickly, not violently, just the patient scrape of stone over stone, shifting gently in the dark. Another joke: maybe the earth is redecorating. Maybe it's been hosting the same bones for too long and wants a fresh look. You return to your tent. A single footprint now marks the center of the grave. Not yours, not barefoot, not any kind of modern shoe. 3 toes, clawed. You check your books, you know your prints, you know your fossils. It shouldn't be here. But then again, neither should you. That night the wind brings voices, not speech, not even whispers, just the rhythm of language without meaning. As if someone's trying to remember how to speak aloud. You think you hear your name, but not the way you say it. The way it would sound if someone from before language tried to pronounce it just using breath and hope. A final real fact: in some ancient burial cultures, graves were reopened multiple times across generations, not for mourning, but to reintroduce the living to the dead. To remind the bones who their descendants were. It was not the living who feared forgetting. It was the dead. You hum again, just to feel something known. The melody turns unfamiliar. The 12th stone has vanished completely. There are no footprints leaving the circle. The hill looks taller now. And when you check your notes in the morning, there's a question scrawled in the corner of the page. Not in your hand. It says, "Did you bring enough names?" You fold the note and tuck it into your sleeve. The earth beneath the grave exhales again, and something breathes back. You wake to find your tent rotated a few degrees east. The zipper faces the rising sun now, even though last night you were sure you'd positioned it westward toward the windbreak. You double-check your compass. East. Definitely east. Something wanted you to face the morning. The grave is perfectly round today. Not oval, not lopsided. A clean, uncanny circle, like it had been traced by something very patient and very old. The stones are evenly spaced except for one that isn't a stone at all. It's a jawbone, not human, probably not even mammalian. It still has teeth. Some of them look new. You pick it up before you can stop yourself. It's warm. And the moment you touch it, the wind returns sudden and sharp, like something inhaling too quickly. You drop the jawbone, but not before it leaves a dry powder on your fingers. You sniff it. Not ash, not soil. Salt. The kind of salt that comes from bone left too long in brine. A soft joke to yourself: maybe the hill used to be a sea. And the grave used to be a fish. Downwind. The tree that bent like a question mark is gone. In its place is a shallow impression in the ground, as if it lay down in the night and forgot to get back up. You don't ask where it went. You know better than to ask. Instead, You hike the southern slope behind the hill, where the soil turns darker and older. You find more rings there, partial ones mostly collapsed as though abandoned mid-ritual or erased in a hurry. One of them is filled with feathers, another with broken arrowheads all pointed inward, and then there's the ring with no stones at all, only holes where they used to be. Something dug them out recently. The holes are too neat, like teeth pulled from gums. Real fact, in certain Paleolithic burial sites, archaeologists have found carefully arranged grave goods, animal bones, ochre shells, tools, all oriented with deliberate precision. But in one Siberian burial mound, a grave was found containing a scattered set of bones that did not belong to a single individual. Scholars still argue whether it was a symbolic composite ancestor or a failed resurrection disassembled again. You walk the perimeter of that empty ring once, clockwise. The holes make a faint whistling sound in the wind, as though mourning their stones. You walk it again, counterclockwise. The sound stops, and something inside your chest tightens, not like fear, but like recognition. When you return to your camp, the candle figure is back. It's taller now. Its arms are in a different position, raised this time like it's trying to surrender. Or wave. You don't touch it, you do place a pebble beside it. Just to see. By evening, the pebble is inside its chest cavity. There is no opening. You decide to document everything: photos, notes, voice memos. But your phone only records a static. And your camera app won't open. Your old analog notebook, though, still accepts your handwriting. You sketch the candle figure and circle the arms. Later, you look again. The arms in your sketch are now lowered. You didn't change it. Some quiet part of you wonders if maybe it's correcting your memory. You cook nothing that night. Hunger becomes irrelevant. Instead, you sit by the empty fire pit listening. The ground is humming again. A low, throaty vibration like something snoring through stone. You hum back. You don't know why. The wind answers, not with sound, but with a scent. Faint, sweet, familiar. Lavender. You remember your grandmother's closet smelled like that. She used to say graves were supposed to be messy. The dead don't need tidiness. They need to remember how to fall apart. She was buried without a coffin. Her choice. Wrapped in linen with a spoon in each hand so I can keep digging. A joke she'd made more than once. You never laughed. Now you do. Quietly. The kind of laugh that doesn't ask permission. Then, just past midnight, the ground cracks. Not violently, just a line. A seam between the grave and your camp. It's narrow, too narrow to fall into. But deep enough that when you kneel beside it and shine a light, you don't see the bottom. Only movement, side to side, back and forth, like something pacing. Real fact, certain Bronze Age burial sites were intentionally constructed over natural fault lines. Some researchers believe this was due to a perceived sacredness of the land. Others speculate that the occasional earthquakes were interpreted as communication from the dead. Still others think it was pure coincidence, but it's hard to ignore the number of graves that hum. You drop a small rock into the crack. No sound. Then a whisper, just one word. Not in your language, not in any known tongue. But you understand it anyway. It says again. You lie awake, heart echoing that word. Again, again. The next morning the crack is gone. In its place, a faint spiral traced in the dirt like something circled out of habit. Your sleeping bag has been zipped shut from the outside. You never went in. And across the grave, the 13th stone is back. This time it's humming, a low, continuous tone. Like a lullaby remembered by someone who never heard it properly the first time. You hum back. It harmonizes. Just once. Then silence. And that night you dream of a mouth beneath the grave. Gigantic. Patient. Full of names it hasn't spoken yet. Some of them yours. You wake to find dirt under your fingernails and a new note in your handwriting. It says, "Bring another name tomorrow," one you've never used. You tear the page out. You fold it carefully. You place it in the center of the grave. The grave does not thank you, but the stones tilt ever so slightly toward you. The fourth morning arrives without light. No sunrise. Just a grayness that sits on the landscape like a lid, low and heavy. You hold your breath without meaning to, unsure whether it's fog or ash. The birds don't sing. Your pack is zipped shut again, even though you didn't zip it. Inside, another bark-wrapped bundle. This time it contains a coin pressed flat like a leaf and a smooth round stone with your name scratched in. Not your real name. The name you almost chose once years ago but never said aloud. The one that sometimes echoes in your dreams when your mind drifts into older, quieter shapes. A name with no safe origin. A gentle joke, maybe the grave is just helping you rebrand. You carry the stone anyway. At the grave, the 13th stone has opened. Not broken, opened. Split cleanly down the center like a seed, revealing a hollow, lined with some kind of pale moss. Something writhes inside, barely visible thin threads, twitching as though tasting the air. You don't get closer. Instead, you return to the hill and mark a circle in the dirt. 12 stones of your own, just rough pebbles from your path. No meaning, no intention. You place them down and wait. Nothing happens. Then you hum. A single note. The wind stops. And all 12 stones shift, rotating slightly. Each one turning the same direction, as if angling themselves toward a center that hasn't been chosen yet. You stand in that circle for an hour, unmoving. When you finally step out, the dirt has taken your footprints and stitched them together into a spiral. You step back in. The stones rotate again. You've started something. Back at camp, the candle figure is taller still. It now has knees, and a second pair of arms folded behind its back. One of the hands is holding something small and square. You lean in. It's your old student ID. The one you lost 6 years ago during a dig in the Aegean. You swore it had fallen into a river. The photo is faded. Your eyes look off-center. The name is scratched out. Only the face remains. You drop it. Another real fact: in the early Mesolithic period, people buried not only their dead, but sometimes sculpted grave companions, figures made of wood, stone, or baked earth, placed beside the deceased. Some were humanoid, others abstract. A few graves contain more figurines than bones. Scholars still don't agree if they were protectors, proxies, or something waiting to wake. You wonder what yours is becoming. That night, you decide to test the grave. You place a second name in the center. Not yours. A name from a story your mother used to whisper when she was almost asleep. The name that should not be spoken twice in one night. You speak it softly, fold it into paper, slide it into the 13th stone's mouth. The grave shudders. Something answers from the field, a low whistle rising in pitch, then cutting off mid-breath. You freeze. Then impossibly, it repeats the name back to you, only backwards. You sleep anyway. There's nowhere else to go. You dream of circles spinning beneath your eyelids, of stones clicking into place like joints in a jaw, of something patient and vertebrate and unfinished. When you wake, your camp is gone. Not scattered, just not there. No tent, no pack, no fire pit. Only the circle and the spiral, and the 13th stone now split into thirds. Each wedge faces a different direction, northwest and deep beneath your feet. You hum a note you've never sung before. The ground hums back in harmony. You hear footsteps, not near, not far, just beside the place your shadow would fall if the sun existed today. You look, there's no one. But the footsteps continue. A real fact: archaeologists in the Sahara once uncovered a Stone Age cemetery where graves had been deliberately re-entered and rearranged over centuries. Some contain the same bones placed in different patterns as if tested for meaning. A few skeletons have been buried face down, an ancient practice sometimes believed to trap the dead in place. Still, some of them moved. The hill now casts a shadow even without a sun. It leans east like a sundial, with no intention of telling time. And behind you something exhales, long and low and full of vowels. You don't turn around. The air tastes like wet stone. Then laughter. Soft, not mocking, not cruel, just old, tired. The kind of laugh that's remembered how many names it used to be. The wind returns, but it doesn't touch you. It moves around you as if, unsure you're still a thing to be moved. You pick up the small stone with your scratched-in name and place it on the spiral. Every other stone turns to face it. You step into the center. The soil is warm beneath your feet. You close your eyes, and for a moment the whole hill breathes in, then exhales. And when you open your eyes, the grave has rearranged itself again. But this time it spells a word. You recognize none of the letters, but you know exactly what it says. You don't try to pronounce the word the grave has written. It's shaped like something that could cut the air if spoken too loudly, too carefully. It's curved in all the wrong places, like it grew rather than was written. You trace it with your eyes once, then look away. You've learned the rhythm of this place. What must not be named must not be echoed. The wind respects that. The candle figure is gone. In its place stands a recess in the earth, as if something rose from beneath and brought the dirt with it. The imprint resembles a seated body, legs folded, arms crossed, chin bowed, but it's too long in the spine. The shoulders tilt in a way that implies more than two limbs. Not monstrous, just unfamiliar. Something that evolved past needing to look like you. You press your palm to the soil. It's warm again, almost pulsing. You whisper your name into the hollow. Nothing happens. Then you whisper the name from your dream, the one no one ever gave you. The dirt breathes. A real fact. In Paleolithic cave burials across Europe, there are rare cases where pigment appears to have been inhaled into chambers, not brushed on. Ochre dust in places the human hand could not reach. Some researchers suggest ceremonial blowing through bone flutes or pipes dispersing pigment, like breath, like spirit. But no mouth marks were ever found. You hear a breath in return, not from the hollow, from the sky. And when you look up, you see that the clouds have parted just slightly above the hill, forming a ring. Not perfect, not heavenly, more like a mouth trying to remember how to speak. Your own mouth feels dry. You find the spiral again. Only now it's not in the dirt. It's in your skin. Fine pale lines across your forearms, down your chest, etched like scars, but you don't remember pain. Just a tingling, as if something had written in your sleep with the tip of a feather dipped in warmth. You don't scream. You sit in the spiral. You hum. And this time the grave hums with you, not as echo, but as harmony. A duet with something very old and very still. You are being asked a question. Not in words, not in symbols, in shape, in pattern, in the curve of stones and bone and wind and shadow. The question is, do you want to stay? You laugh. A small cracked laugh that barely leaves your throat. Another joke there was never a door, only a circle and a decision. You rise. Not quickly. You feel heavier now. Not tired, just full of things that don't have names yet. The candle figure returns one last time, but now it stands in the grave's center, eyes open. Your face is on it. And not your face now, but the one from a photograph you've never seen. Older, wiser, weathered by time that hasn't happened yet. You walk away. No footprints follow. You don't take your pack, or your tools, or your notes. You take the 13th stone. And as you crest the hill, the landscape below looks the same but rotated. Just slightly. Trees you hadn't seen. Shadows pointing wrong. The grave is no longer behind you. It has moved. So have you. Real fact. In ancient Sardinia, certain tombs called Domus de Janus, houses of the fairies, were carved into rock with womb-shaped chambers. Burials were made in fetal position. The idea was not death but return, not ending but re-entry. A scholar once called it recycling the soul. Another argued it was just practical geometry. You descend into the new terrain. The spiral follows, but only in your periphery. The air grows warmer, not colder. The wind doesn't speak anymore, because now it listens. You sing once, just once, and the land answers by shifting beneath your feet, not to swallow you, but to make room. Your name is now a shape in the soil, and the grave no longer rearranges itself, because it no longer needs to.